Welcome our guest this morning. We welcome Sophie Mokoena, SABC Deputy Political and Foreign Editor, as well as Political Analyst, Mr. Dumsani Hlope. Very good morning to both of you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, Alicia. Morning to the viewers.
All right. And now for a quick look at the big hashtags of the week. And for this segment, we present you with Mr. Neo Motloung, SABC Multimedia Producer. Good morning, Neo.
Good morning, Alicia. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm just anxious to get going. What was big in terms of the trends this week?
We're starting with the Prophet of Doom, of course. I mean, this topic was so big on social media that it had so many hashtags of its own. And one hashtag that was pulling traffic is things that needs to be doomed. And people are talking about skin lightening needs to be doomed.
I see they brought back our kid.
Yeah, they brought back our kid from Uganda, and he went viral a few weeks back, but now he's back doing social media rounds. And there are more tweets, actually.
Let's have a look at those tweets. What are they saying on social media? All right, while we wait for the tweets, I just want to hear quickly from the panel. Sophie, what did you make of these latest developments here?
Well, it's no surprise. I mean, we have many churches that have kind of sprung up all over the country, but on the continent in particular. I think it all has to do with the challenges we are facing as a nation, but also as the continent, where people are so desperate at times, and they think anything can assist them, and they would align themselves with anything that they think it can help them. I mean, it's unfortunate because it's exploitation of people, particularly black people. When are we going to stop?
And we are going to talk about this in more detail, but just a quick review of what you saw on social media, Dumsan.
Well, this week...
on the Pastor of Doom, what did you make of the reactions on social media?
Two things for me. I think it showed how vulnerable the black poor are. But secondly, which is even more important for me, is that with social media, we are now able to transmit information as and when things happen. And as a society, we are able to take action, immediately. But I also think that the police did not come to the party because they could have arrested him. That was a criminal act. There was nothing religious about it.
We want to hear more of that when we actually discuss that. He says it's a criminal act. Well, what were the people saying on Twitter?
That's what people are saying. Female friends that act like our girlfriends but do not give us the benefits of a girlfriend. Those are things that need to be doomed. All people who think exile was jail enough for them to now eat our tax money, things that need to be doomed. Those are just some of the comments that people are making light of the issue on social media.
All right, well, we are going to discuss that topic further later on in the show, but give us the next big hashtag of this week, Neil.
The next big hashtag has to be Black Friday. I mean, it was big news. I mean, everyone was at the malls.
I missed it. I was at work.
As you can see in this video, people are running up and down. This was at Pick and Pay. I mean, people are coming in to do their shopping. There was one lady who said she was in the queue for an hour just to do her shopping. And it's basic things. It's like food, basic South African things that people need. But it was a big hashtag on social media. If you look at the map, this is the map where it all trended across the globe. We have them South Africa, Nigeria, and some parts of the Eastern and Europe, especially America, because, Black Friday started after the Thanksgiving ritual. So, but it has spread all around the world. I mean, even in Australia, people are taking part, except Russia. I don't know why. I'm not even sure if they have Twitter that side, but it's not trending there at all.
Sophie, did you take advantage of the Black Friday?
Not at all.
You were at work.
I was at work, but I also don't believe in Black Friday. I mean, you just end up buying stuff that at times you don't need. And also... yeah, there's a debate in terms of what this is all about, how it originated, and the history behind. And I still have to do my research until I'm convinced that it's not true what I heard. Maybe I would consider next year. But the reality is, I mean, it's just a capitalist society where people are being forced in different ways to spend, and indeed it worked for capitalists.
You sound like a chief economist, Dumsani.
Well,
what did you think?
For me, Black Friday is a black problem.
Why?
Because it entrenches these consumerism tendencies. I mean, it's very interesting that the people that are managed were not actually too visible in all of these places. And then I think there's an element of truth. I asked a few professors at UNISA about the history of Black Friday. And they had quite consensus that it is linked to the auctioning of slaves way back in the US,
Yes,
where
yes.
people were auctioned, and there are actually some pictures that were shown. So there is evidence. And I think we're just too gullible in this continent in South Africa that things that are thrown at us, we easily swallow them. We have got your idols, you have got whatever housewives, and all of these things. We just swallow. So I think at some point we just need to make things happen for ourselves. So for me, it just marked strongly, that we're a consumer society and we're going to swallow anything that is thrown at us.
Including
But also it speaks to how vulnerable we are as a society.
As a society.
And particularly on the continent, the challenges we face. I mean, some of people who went there, it was all about ensuring that they get what they need most. And this is the only time we can afford.
Yeah.
Therefore, yeah.
All right. Well, she's got to change her part. We'll probably see her shopping next year. What was the big and final one for this week, Neo?
I think the biggest one was Fidel Castro,
yes.
who passed away yesterday, but in Cuba it was on Friday.
Yes.
So at Digital News, we created a timeline that illustrates his life, the people he's met and the contribution he's done, not only just in Cuba, but also in Africa. So if you want to see this, you can go onto our SABC digital platforms. But looking at stats, in 2 minutes, actually, after the news broke, over 1.5 accounts were reached on social media. But that's just a small number because it's an ongoing story. So the hashtag does grow as time goes. But people in South Africa, particularly when we look at South African Twitter, they are saying he's not just a Cuban hero. Like this tweet says, he's an African and a Cuban hero. Rest in peace. May the soul of a gallant revolutionary hero of the liberation of Cuba and South Africa, Fidel Castro, rest in peace. So people in South Africa are really touched by the story and are really sending out their sentiments on social media.
Sophie, we did a whole dedication to him yesterday here on the channel. I mean, take us through what you saw on social media.
Yes, indeed. South Africans in particular really appreciate the fact that he played the part in liberating the SADC region in particular. And we spoke to the head of state, President Zuma, last night at 8, where he spoke about the role that Fidel Castro played in ensuring that we are free. We spoke to the former President Thabo Mbeki, also relating his encounter with Fidel. And then, of course, President Obama in the US issuing a statement that was very, diplomatic. And you had the president-elect, Donald Trump, I don't know. I'm still trying to understand Donald Trump. You have President Holland, many messages, but also Julius Malema writing a letter to Raul Castro, a very, very moving letter.
All right, a very quick one, Dumsani.
Well, I think there's a lot to talk about Fidel Castro, but one thing in particular for me is how the Cuban forces in Angola, they played a very instrumental role in actually embarrassing the apartheid military regime, which contributed greatly to the withdrawal of the SADF at the time and to the subsequent negotiations in South Africa. So he is, but also, I think for me it marks the era of the end of heroes. I don't think we will still have heroes in that space, in that space as we have known so far.
All right. Well, that's where we leave it now. Give our viewers once again that you are where they can get all the information that you've given us this morning.
They could just go to www.sabc.co.za/news. That's where they'll get everything. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us now. Hopefully, we're going to see you next week. After the break, Cosatu calls for Ramaphosa to lead the ANC. Stay tuned for that.